Hey everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Eagle Eye presented by Nissan with Ruben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Rube, why is this one special?
I don't know because the Eagles won. Oh my God!
For those who can't see, I bought cheap dollar store noisemakers, and they actually don't make noise. But I have a party hat on. And Rube, if you check the other chair in the studio, go ahead. Go
Oh
ahead. Go
God!
check. Go check. It's Rube's
Wow.
birthday, so we're making a big deal of this. And I didn't do much show prep because I was at the dollar store buying props.
Oh my God! The noisemakers don't make any noise.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is Eagle Eye, and we're off
We're
to a
off and
great
running.
start here. We didn't have a ton to talk about today. Look, the Eagles obviously come off a big win, but we feel like, we've talked so much about
Take the
Jalen
hat off.
Hurts, and I'm going to wear it for the.
No, take it off.
Okay. All right.
Dave did get me an iced tea for my birthday, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I had to do that because I knew you weren't going to like the rest of it. So we wanted to answer some questions today and kind of talk about whatever you guys wanted us to talk about. And we'll get into the only thing we really had planned for today was we want to talk about the rookie class coming off a big game for the top two picks. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, Rube, I know you asked for questions, and we got a ton of them. Let's just see how many we can get through and kind of answer some questions here.
Okay, you wanna read them? You want me to?
Yeah, you go for it because I don't have them. I was too busy. I was at the dollar store this morning.
Well, I haven't really gone through them. I thought you usually do that, but all right. Let's pick some out here. This comes from 330 Way. Are you leaning more towards Hurts next year or quarterback via draft or the trade? That's kind of the question of the year.
Yeah, it is, and it's one that if you would have asked me this a few weeks ago, I probably would have said I'm leaning toward one in the draft or a trade. And I still think that possibility is out there. But I've been impressed by Jalen Hurts the last few weeks. I think you probably have been too. I mean, if he can play the way he played in that first half in the last game, I mean, that guy, sign me up for him. He was very good. I think the problem with Hurts is there have been some inconsistencies, but we're seeing improvement. And I think the offense kind of taking a lot off his plate has really helped him.
Yeah, I think it's been a constant process of Nick trying to figure out what Jalen does best and what this offense does best and how Jalen fits into that. And I mean, it was really hard to evaluate him early in the year because of the pass run ratio was so out of whack, and that doesn't help any quarterback. And I think it made it really hard for him. It would make it hard for any young quarterback. So we're sitting there evaluating a guy who's throwing the ball 97% of the time. It was really difficult to do. I'm leaning toward him being the guy next year, and not just because of the growth we've seen from him, but just because there's no real other alternative. Like people talk about Russell Wilson. I mean, Jalen's having a better year than Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson's 32, and they just got shut out. And Jalen puts up 25, 30 points every week lately. So I'm leaning that way. I still need to see, like you said, more consistency. But I just think when we kind of recap the season in January and kind of look at the options, I think it's going to be Jalen. I'm leaning that way.
Yeah, I get that. And look, I still think there's something to the idea about Russell Wilson being on this team's mind, but how realistic is it? Really? I mean, that they'd make a trade, that he'd come here, that all that would happen. And ideally, the Eagles, I mean, they want to see Jalen be the guy because then they have 3 first-round draft picks to build a team around him that they don't have to use to either draft a quarterback, trade up to draft a quarterback, or trade to bring in a veteran. So they're rooting for Jalen Hurts. They clearly are.
And then there's a financial aspect too. If you have a quarterback for 2 more years on a rookie contract, or at least 1 more year on a rookie contract, second round rookie contract, that lets you address other areas.
It does, but only in the short term because you're probably right about that. Really, only if he's your guy, you're not going to let him have a lame duck year. You'd probably sign him to a big deal after that that third season. But yeah, you get one more year of a really cost controlled quarterback. And even when you extend him, if you do extend him, you can structure it in a way that gives you some relief early. So yeah, there is something to that.
All right, next question comes from Laquan Glover, who's a really good follower, always has insightful observations on Twitter. He asks, other than the outsized quarterback question in the room, the one we just talked about, what's the most pressing need for the Eagles to fill this offseason? D-line talent or more youth for the secondary?
I'll let you answer this one first.
I think they're both areas that need to be addressed. But I would say secondary might be the most pressing need this offseason, just because you could have new guys in every position. I mean, I think Slay's going to be back, and Slay's been playing really well. But Anthony Harris is not going to be here. Steve Nelson probably won't be here. I think you'll have Maddox be here, but he's not under contract beyond this year. So there's going to be a lot of changes in the secondary. They need playmakers. They need youth. The D-line, they need the same, but I think the most pressing need is going to be that secondary.
Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, no, I think defensive end is where I look, because right now they have Josh Sweat, who is a pretty good player. I don't think he's playing up to the level that his contract would suggest he should. Brandon Graham is going to be 34, coming off an Achilles injury, and I mean, you can't do it forever. Derek Barnett's going to be gone. And then you're left with, Milton Williams can play a little bit of end, but he's probably better suited to play inside, and Teron Jackson. So, yeah, you'll have a starter in Sweat, and you'll probably have a starter in Graham. But with how much they rotate along the line, like, it's not enough to have starters. You need to have depth here. And they really need to. I think with one of those first three picks they have in the first round, I'd put defensive end right at the top of the list of positions of need, especially the way they value the position. Like, they need safeties, but are they going to draft a safety in the first round? I mean, probably not. We know they value the lines. We know they value edge rushers, and they're going to have Hargrave still. They might have Fletcher. They might not have Fletcher, but at least they drafted a third-round kid in Milton Williams. They need edge help bad, and that's where I'd put it on first.
Well, I mean, they can always re-sign Ryan Kerrigan. His hand should be healed by then.
Yeah, he'll have fresh legs. He's playing like 10 snaps a game.
This is from Mindy Tierney. What happens when Miles Sanders comes back? I just wrote about this morning. Who gets the short string? What's going to change in that backfield? You want to take a shot at that?
Sure. If the most pressing question for the year is about Hurts, the most pressing question right now is about the running back rotation, because it's working right now. They're getting good downhill runners or good downhill runs from Jordan Howard and Boston Scott. So, but you can't keep Miles off the field either, I don't think. I think he's too talented. So someone, you're right, is going to get the short straw. And people are going to think it's going to be Kenny Gainwell. I don't think so, because he has a very different skill set than these other guys. And we've seen him have a role in the 2-minute offense. We've seen him be out there a lot as the back in passing situations. So honestly, it might be Boston Scott. I don't know how you take it away from Jordan Howard right now, because I think Jordan Howard and Miles have very different skill sets. Boston's kind of a mix of all of them, and I like Boston Scott, but if you're going to ask me, gun to my head, who loses snaps because of it, it's probably Boston Scott.
Yeah, and I think it has to be Gainwell, because he's kind of gradually lost snaps. He hasn't really played much the last month. I still think he's a good player, and I think there's a role for him, but I just think Boston's playing too well right now. I mean, the kid's averaging 6 yards a pop, and he's a big playmaker. I mean, he had like an 18-yard run, a 60-yard catch, where Jordan Howard's more of a, 5 yards in a cloud of dust, 4 yards in a cloud of dust, and dust, not dusk. Miles, can be that player, but we really haven't seen it. I just think, I mean, I saw it work in 2003 with Deuce and Brian Westbrook and Corell Buckhalter. I think it's working too well right now to really get Boston completely out of the picture. I would keep going with Boston and Jordan and work Miles in there, especially as he's coming back from an injury. Um, I worry about the equilibrium of this offense. I mean, Boston and Jordan have been a huge part of what this team's done the last 3 weeks. They didn't even play the first 7 weeks of the season. I'd be afraid to mess that up.
Yeah, I get it. And look, I'm not saying I would bench Boston, but I'm trying to look at it the way I think the coaches are. And it seems like they have a very clear idea of when they want Gainwell out there, right or wrong. Would you agree with that? It seems like he has a specified role in the offense. I don't think they'll take away.
Yeah, that's true. And he's a draft pick where Jordan Howard is a practice squad guy and Boston Scott's initially a practice squad guy. But I think the other backs can do the things Kenny Gainwell can do. Kenny Gainwell's best strength is I think he's a good short yardage runner, but I think he's a really good receiver. But Miles and Boston are good receivers too. I mean, Boston's as good a receiver as Kenny Gainwell, I think.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but he's very good. He can do the job. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
And, if you're trying to make a case for Gainwell to lose snaps instead of Boston Scott, Boston's probably better in pass protection. So if you're going to have a player out there in third down situations or 2-minute drill situations, that's the one thing that'll keep a rookie off the field is if he can't pass protect. And we did see Gainwell have an MA in that last – it was a tough assignment to have him blocking a lineman coming free, but
Right.
he missed it. You got to at least touch him, and he didn't even do that. So maybe that's the one way Boston stays on the field instead of him in those situations. So maybe that's something to watch.
He's a better runner too. I mean, Boston Scott's a really good runner. I
agree, but I don't think they're looking for a good runner necessarily in those situations.
All right. Well, it's an interesting question. We'll see how it goes. Here's one from George. I'm not going to even try to pronounce the rest of his name. We'll just go with George. Is Jalen Reagor even on this team next year? He's really struggling to register positive yards, and I don't know what they can do with him.
Yeah, I'll take this one first. I think he is. And there's a kind of a precedent set here. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is on the team right now, and he hasn't, pretty similar, sadly pretty similar. And J.J. was a second-round pick. So if they're keeping a second-round pick on the roster in year 3 after not doing much the first 2 years, they're probably going to keep Reagor. And I'd actually argue Reagor has more value to the team than J.J., J.J. plays special teams, but Rager's a returner. He's been their top kick returner and punt returner, and he hasn't broken one this year, but they think he has that potential. It's not going to make up for how big of a disappointment he's been on offense. He's been worse than a non-factor because he's hurting them for the most part offensively right now. But is he going to be on the team next year? Yeah, I think he will be.
Yeah, I agree. Howie's not one to move on from first-round picks in a hurry. Fireman Danny was here 2 years? I think he got cut after his third training camp. But
at least Reagor likes football.
Yeah, that's true. He's not off. He's not off fighting brush fires. This is from Conan. He asks, what percentage chance do you think Derek Barnett's on the roster next year? I'm going to go with 0-ish.
It's probably above 0, but it's very unlikely. It was unlikely when they signed Josh Sweat to a $13 million per year contract, and Barnett hasn't done anything to change that position, right? He hasn't been very good, and we've always been split on Derek Barnett. He hasn't played well this year, though. I can't deny that. I think that generally in his career he's gotten more pressure than people want to admit. But the production's not there. The penalties are killing you. He can't be back next year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's some good ones here. We got some good questions. Hoodrich asks, who's the one?
I really like you saying that. Tom, I'm going to need that cut, please.
Who's the one guy in the draft you would love to have with the Dolphins pick, which is getting worse? Their defense is pretty good. They're winning.
Yeah, That's tough because I don't know.
But let's say they. I mean, right now they're 5. Let's just say they're. I think they'll probably won't be 5, but let's say they're 5.
They're 5. Actually, Mike Mulhern in his
See, I wouldn't
our
take Mulhern that high. I think that's too high for Mike.
our Eagles pregame producer had his mock draft out today, and he had them taking Hutchinson, which I like. I don't think that's too high for him. And I already talked about defensive end being a position that I think they need to go after. So that would be fine with me, and it's tough because it could really change. But that would be fine with me. I like that idea of him in that spot. He's to me, he's a high ceiling, high floor player. And that's what I like when you're drafting that high is sure you can take a shot, but if you have a chance to get a guy who you think can be very good and you're very convinced is going to be pretty good, I'll take that.
It's interesting. I mean, the Colts are winning games. The Eagles have won 2 of their last 3. Miami's playing better. It's like the whole kit and caboodle is getting worse. But it's interesting. Like we talked about what the position in need, and I said secondary, and you said DN. So I'm going to go Kyle Hamilton, which is probably.
Do you think they'd take a safety?
I'm saying what I would do.
Oh yeah, okay.
This is what I would do. How is it? Because here's how it's worded. Who's the one guy in the draft you would love to have with the Dolphins pick?
Okay.
So it wasn't.
So
what
you'll go Hamilton.
Sorry.
Do you think the Eagles would do it though? Ever?
No, but he's asking who I would want.
I understand the question. I'm just asking you.
I think he is really, really good, and he'd be a perfect fit. They haven't had an elite young safety. I mean, Malcolm and Rodney have, both had really good careers here. And who knows, Rodney might be back, but they need some youth in that secondary desperately. And that kid is a playmaker. He can play up in the box. He can cover. I would love to see it.
Yeah, the last good young safety they had was Michael Lewis, like that they drafted.
Yeah, and he had a couple good years. He made a Pro Bowl one year, but I'm
just trying to think about when's the last time people were like excited?
I was thinking Bill Bradley.
Well, that Doc guy worked out all right. But I mean, since Doc though, Michael Lewis.
Yeah, Michael Lewis is probably the best. I mean, Sean Constantine started for a couple years.
Yeah, it's tough when you don't draft them very high to get a player like that. I mean, people were excited about
was really good.
Jaquan, but
Damon Moore was really good before he got hurt.
Okay.
He had that great postseason, and he had 3 interceptions in the 2001 playoffs. And he had the pick that against the Bears on Jim Miller when Hugh Douglas obliterated Jim Miller and basically ended his career. Said, I told him don't move. He moved. The rest is history. A great quote. But Demo would have been really, really good. I think he had 4 picks in the regular season, 3 in the postseason. Really good safety, but he tore up his knee the next week, and he played maybe another half year. But it's been a position in need for a long time, and I'd love to see the Eagles go that way. But you're right, I can't imagine they would. This question, Dave, is from Jake Atwell, and he asks, if the Eagles did draft a quarterback or trade for a QB this offseason, could you keep Hurts on the team? He's such a leader, and the team would want to play for him.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah,
I don't think he would be the issue. You know what I mean? I don't think he has that in his personality to cause a fuss, but his presence might cause a fuss, right? Like if the players are looking around like, no, we want to play for this guy, not this rookie or this. If it's a veteran, I think it's a little different. If they bring in Russell Wilson, I think everyone kind of goes, all right, well, we'll play for Russell Wilson. But if they draft a quarterback, then I think it's probably more likely you'd have to trade him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But it's an interesting thing. I hadn't really thought of it that way. Mike Pitts, his favorite player is Mike Pitts, who we lost last week. Great Eagles defensive tackle from the late 80s and early 90s. Mike asks, who's getting too many snaps and who's not getting enough? I like this question.
Oh, I like that too. Too many snaps.
I got a couple in mind.
Yeah, Jalen Reagor.
He's
is
one.
getting too many. I get why they're doing it, but I mean, he played 50 snaps in the last game. He had one catch and one run. The run went for -8. So he's playing too many. And on the flip side of that, I don't know who you're playing instead of him. I guess Greg Ward. I'd get Greg
Sure.
Ward out there, put Quez outside. So I could say Greg Ward's getting too few. How about you?
I think Anthony Harris is getting too many.
Yeah.
And Marcus Epps not enough. I like the way Marcus Epps plays, and I think since Anthony Harris came back healthy, the last 2 games he's played all but about 15 snaps, and Epps only played 46 in the last 2 games. So I'd like to see those two flip flopped.
I agree. And it looked like in that last game, there was at least one series where Harris looked to be fine and he was on the sideline and Epps was out there. So maybe they'll start giving him some more packages. They should. Epps is better.
Yeah, I just think he's better. Let's do 2 more.
Okay.
One football and one non-football. I always like when we get to non-footballs. We didn't get enough of those. The last 2 drafts, other than the Rager pick, are shaping up to be pretty solid. I count 10 starters or significant contributors, plus a first rounder from Miami. I guess the question is Howie really as bad as everyone seems to think? Other teams miss on high draft picks too.
Yeah, it's fair. And I think it's fair to take a balanced look at Howie, right? Because it's true. Other teams miss picks. The problem is when the Eagles miss them, they miss them. I mean,
spectacularly.
Yeah, they miss them pretty big, and they miss them with players at the same positions that they could have taken go on and have great careers. So it just looks a lot worse. I think it's fair to say that, yes, Howie's hit a little bit in the last 2 drafts, but has he? I mean, we don't know what this draft is yet. Last year's first round pick.
Well, I mean, Devontae, we know Devontae is. But my thing about it is, like, if you're going to miss on a first round pick, at least get a good player, like a functional, like, all right, he's not a star, he's not a Pro Bowler, but, he's Mike Patterson. He's a guy who's going to give you 16 honest games a year, but he's not a star. But their first round misses are just swing and a miss. I mean, he's whiffing on these guys, and it's been more often than not. And I think when they've drafted well, they've gotten good players, they've gotten overachieving players, late round guys. It hasn't been a total disaster. I mean, a Mulata in the 7th round, that kind of thing.
And
Jordan
they count.
Howard.
I mean, that certainly counts.
It definitely counts. But they don't have elite young players, and they haven't in a long time. And to me, that's the biggest issue. They have some good players. They have some functional players. Like, okay, he's a good player. He's a good player, but where are the stars? Who was the last star he drafted? I mean, the quarterback had a great 9-game run. The guy that's playing for the Colts now.
Who are you talking about?
The quarterback with the Colts now. They traded him.
I don't know who's that.
But where are the elite players?
No, you're right.
That's where he's missed.
And look, I don't know if you can even say last year was a good draft yet.
No.
I mean, they got Hurts, and we don't know what he is yet. They got Davion Taylor. We don't know what he is yet. Kayvon Wallace, we have no idea. Jack Driscoll looks like a functional player. John Hightower is on the practice squad. Sean Bradley's a practice squatter. Quez Watkins is functional, and the last 2 guys he drafted aren't even here. So, I don't know. Like that.
Casey Tua made a couple plays, by the way. I don't know if you saw any of that Washington game. He made a couple plays.
I didn't see it. No, that's good for him. I like Casey Tua.
Yeah.
But, you missed on the first round pick.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Other than the first round picks, his draft pick's been really. All right. Our last question comes from Annette Boyer, and she asks, I'm sure you guys will be inundated with Eagles questions, so here's what I want to know. What's your favorite Thanksgiving side dish? Thanksgiving coming up quickly next week.
I mean, I'm a side guy. I think a lot of people are. Thanksgiving to me is about the sides.
Dave doesn't eat turkey. He just fills his plate.
I eat the turkey, but I'm a side guy. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. I'm a big candied yams fan.
Oh, yeah.
Big fan. Yeah, eat with or without the marshmallows. That's a nice touch. Don't need them.
I'm just going to flat out go stuffing.
Okay.
Stuffing. I mean,
What kind of now? There's different kinds of stuffing. Do you have like a preference?
stuffing. Just I don't know.
There's some
Uh,
that's like on the drier side. There's some that's kind of like
well, you get your turkey and your gravy and your stuffing, and so I don't know. I don't want dry stuffing. I want some gravy on it mixed in.
okay.
But yeah,
How you ever
yeah,
have cornbread stuffing?
love cornbread stuffing.
It's pretty good. I
Yeah,
only had first time I had it was a couple years ago, and I was actually at a friend's house for like a we did like a friendsgiving the day before, and someone made I'd never had it before because my family's kind of a traditional Thanksgiving dinner type of family. So it was a little wild for me, but I liked it. It was a fun experience.
I love a good cornbread. Yeah, I'm a big cornbread fan. String beans. I'm a big string bean fan too.
Now I like the green bean casserole
Yeah, love
with
that.
the little French onion things on top, crunchy
Yeah,
guys.
I might hire you to make my Thanksgiving dinner this
I
next
can't cook. I can just talk about it.
week.
So if you want something to just there talking about dinner, I can do that.
All right, good question. Hey, we got good questions today.
Yeah, thanks guys. That was fun.
Hey, score big with the AAA Eagles MVP membership, along with the superb roadside assistance and discounts you've come to expect from AAA. Get exclusive Eagles-related perks. For details, visit AAA.com/Eagles.
All right, Rube. It's a good time to go through the rookie class. We're a little bit past halfway in this season. Eagles through 10 games, and their number 1 and number 2 picks are coming off pretty good games. So let's just go through the draft class and kind of give our impressions, our takeaways, and what we think the ceilings for these players are as they move forward in their careers. And we'll start with DeVonta Smith, who, I mean, coming off a 2-touchdown game on his birthday, it looks like Howie nailed this one.
Yeah, he's everything that we've been waiting for in a wide receiver for a long time, and there's really nothing to. I mean, I love his attitude. I love talking to him. Just he's so unlike. He reminds me of Macklin in just how humble he is, and like he's got a personality, but he's like most wide receivers are they're so out there and me first and ego and stats and Pro Bowls. And DeVonta Smith is a complete opposite of that. He's just a humble guy, works his ass off, and and just wants to win. And those are rare qualities for elite wide receivers. I'm not sure he's quite elite yet, but he's on his way there. He's so smooth. He had that one little kind of stretch where he dropped a couple passes. He worked through that. Makes great catches, graceful, and tough. I think that's the biggest surprise for me is just how tough he is, both as a receiver and in the blocking game. For a skinny, slight guy, he's a really tough kid, and I admire that about him.
Yeah, I really liked what Nick Sirianni said the other day about him because it's kind of the way I feel about DeVonta Smith too. He's just a good player because you see some of these receivers who are freaks athletically in one way or the other, and you look at DeVonta and he's just a skinny kid out there, but he runs crisp routes. He has great body control.
Yeah,
he has great hands, and you're right. He's tough. He played through an injury in this last game. He's just a good player, and you look at him in this draft class, and I mean, not only did if you want to give Howie some roses, we'll give it to him for this pick because not only did he get the player, but he traded down to get him, and I don't know what the heck the Dolphins were thinking, trading a first round pick to go up and get Jalen Watkins, who is a good player, but Smith looks better, and they didn't have to give up a first round pick to get him.
Jalen Watkins.
Did I say Jalen Watkins?
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle. They did not draft Jalen Watkins.
I was going to say I was a little confused there for a second. Yeah, Howie played that one really well, and it was about time.
I can't believe I said Jalen Watkins. When's the last time someone thought about Jalen Watkins in this town?
We were just talking about him at practice mấy a month ago, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He ended up carving out a decent little career for himself.
He really did. Yeah, he got himself vested, made some money. Yeah.
All
All right.
right.
So Dickerson's next.
Yeah, Dickerson, who, yeah, it was a rough go, and we were a little we weren't pushing the panic button on Dickerson, but early on we were like, uh-oh. I mean, this doesn't look good. But he missed all of training camp. He gets thrown into action, and ever since he moved from right to left, and he's gotten some games under his belt, he looks pretty good. He really does, and he's really. We talked about this. It was a gamble, and you and I were both skeptical of the pick because of his injury history, and we'll see how this plays out over the next few years. But if the Eagles nailed this pick and they got a first round talent at 37, this draft's looking pretty good.
Yeah, and he's such a good run blocker, and the shift in offensive philosophy has really helped him. I think, because he can just. I don't think he's a bad pass blocker, but he's an incredible run blocker, and he's just going to get better as a pass blocker. But when you're running the ball 40 times a game and you have this killer run blocker at left guard, and they love running behind him, he's a steamroller at left guard in the run game, and. I think I wrote back in the spring that if he could stay healthy, he'll be a Pro Bowler by year 3, and I'm going to stick with that. He's that good. The issue is always going to be his health. Every time he hobbles off the field, you're like holding your breath. Is this it? Is this the one?
And he has been banged up this year.
He has.
Little nicks and bruises, yeah.
Yeah, he's played through it, and I think he missed a handful of snaps the other day. I guess he would have gone in at center if he was in the game when Kelsey got banged up and missed a play, and Herbie ended up snapping the ball.
Poor Herbie. He gets one play in the game. He rolls it to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, that was kind of ugly, but yeah, I'm really impressed with Dickerson. No nonsense kid.
I always talk about a growth mindset. He's been impressive. He won't admit that. He's so hesitant to admit when he's playing well. It's really funny. You try to get it out of him. He's like, "Look, I'm never going to be happy," and that's just the way he operates. So I've been impressed by that part of him too.
Yeah, he's got the. It's like an Alabama thing, I guess. I mean, they're all like robots. They're just kind of, they say the same stuff, but it works and it's true. And it's sometimes cliches are cliches because there's a reason people keep saying the same thing. And he's a no nonsense, just do what it takes to win type of guy. And he's been impressive.
Yeah, I wrote about Dickerson today, and I got a really funny response from someone on Twitter saying, "Oh, wow, look at that. If you draft players from the most successful college football team ever, you might get some good players." What a smart concept there.
Yeah.
All right.
They've done well with those Alabama kids.
Yeah, maybe some more of them. Third rounder, Milton Williams from Louisiana Tech. Overall, a pretty quiet rookie season, especially after what I thought was a really good training camp for him.
Yeah, and he's flashed a little bit. He hasn't been quite as, I guess, productive as I expected based on his camp. He almost had a sack Sunday, real close. So he's kind of, he's gotten to play. He hasn't been bad. I think he's gotten better against the run. He's always in the right place. But we haven't really seen him flash. We haven't seen him get a lot of pressure. I think he has a sack. I think he got a sack earlier. But
yeah, he had that sack in that Lions game.
Oh, in the Lions game, yeah, like everyone did, except Fletch. But yeah, I mean, it's too early to kind of really say anything definitive. I'm not going to say disappointing. I don't think he's been disappointing, but
yeah,
I did expect a little more as far as production.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think the production is going to come with him because, like you mentioned, he's not playing poorly. Like he's in the right spots. He's making some plays.
Yeah.
And the thing I really like about him is his motor. And I know that sometimes the motor gets brought up when a player isn't really good. That's not the case here. Like the motor's fun to watch on him. He's making plays all over the field. He doesn't give up on plays.
Yeah.
He'll make a play. And this is something that showed up on his college tape. And this is one of the reasons the Eagles really liked him, aside from the obvious. I mean, he's making plays 20 yards downfield in the run game. And if you have effort like that and you have a motor like that, the production is going to come, especially when you're this talented. So I wouldn't worry about him too much.
No, I'm not worried. I think he'll be a solid player for this team. Beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, 4th round, Zach McPherson from Texas Tech, the only cornerback they drafted. Hasn't played much. I mean, a few snaps here and there, but the starters in front of him have been playing pretty well, and they haven't gotten injured much.
When he has gone in, mainly when Slay has gotten a little banged up and missed a series or a few snaps, I thought he's hung in there and held his own. I think he's been in the right place. But yeah, I mean, like you said, he hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities. You can see quarterbacks when a corner goes out, they're automatically gonna, they're gonna go after whoever comes in, especially if it's a rookie with a clean jersey. And I think in those situations, he's done what you'd expect him to do.
Yeah. And on special teams, he has had a big role. He's been a gunner, and he's been a very good gunner. On the other side, they have Andre Sacheret, who's, he's kind of like their special teams ace. But McPherson's good, and at times I've noticed him getting the double if they're doubling one of the gunners. And it was just recently, 2 games ago, he downed the ball at the 1-yard line. And a play earlier in the season, he got too excited. He took it into the end zone, and it was a touchback. So I give him credit for learning from that, and he has made an impact on special teams.
Yeah, no doubt about it. If you're a corner or a linebacker that doesn't play, I mean, you got to make an impact on teams, and he's done that.
Yeah. 5th round, Kenny Gainwell from Memphis had a really big role early. Hasn't had much of a role recently.
Yeah, it's interesting. Since Miles got hurt, his playing time has decreased just because Boston and Jordan Howard have been so good. I like Kenny, and I think Kenny's going to be a good player. They have a lot of talented running backs. I mean, Huntley on the practice squad, I thought had a really good camp. It's a position where you need depth. I mean, it's a position where it's hard for guys to stay healthy. It's a position where, you don't want to overuse guys. So I think it's a really good situation for them. And we talked about it earlier, I do think Gainwell should be the odd man out once Miles does come back. And we don't know for a fact that Miles will be back for the Saints. He's eligible. We'll find out more, I would think, tomorrow. But I like Kenny. And, where they got him, I mean, to get a kid like that in the 5th round, if he's as good as he was the first 4 or 5 games of the season, that's a good pick. If he's that player, gets in the end zone. He catches the ball well. He's elusive. I'm just not sure how good a pure runner he is. Could be a guy, you put in the slot. But he's definitely got some skills.
What if that's an answer? Get him in the slot more. You run 21 personnel, but not really even use them as a running back. You use them in the slot. You get Rager off the field a little bit more. You put Quez outside.
I like that.
That's an option to keep some snaps for him.
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. Get him on the field and get Rager off the field. Anything that gets Rager off the field, I'm in favor of.
Yeah. All right, we're into the 6th round now. With the 189th pick, Marlon Tuipulotu from USC. Pretty quiet year for Tuipulotu. Was a healthy scratch for a few games in the beginning of the year. He's played a little bit recently, but even when he's playing, a handful of snaps.
Yeah, and I mean, 6th round pick, it's kind of a redshirt year for him. I'm just looking at his snap count. He's only played 29 snaps. He played 13, and he played most of his snaps at the end of the Detroit game. They played a bunch of the backups. He didn't really do a whole lot in training camp. I mean, he's a 6th round pick. You figure get him some experience, get him around the game, learn from Hargrave and Fletcher, and maybe have something next year.
Yeah, and the ceiling for a 6th round pick really realistically is, can he become a rotational player? He's still developing. Maybe he can. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
The next one, a few picks later, Teron Jackson from Coastal Carolina, another guy who hasn't played a whole lot. At times, though, I have seen a little bit of a flash from him.
Yeah. considering their issues getting pressure, he would be playing more if they felt. But I mean, he's getting snaps. He's played 100+ snaps this year. He gets usually about 10 to 12 snaps a game. So they must like him. I think he did get a sack in that at the end of the Detroit game. I think you missed it. You're on the elevator going downstairs. You missed his only career sack.
I think I went down with like 10 minutes left in that game.
I think Milton and Teron both got sacks. They both got their first career sack and their only sack so far. But it's a position where I like the pick because if maybe you find a player, and if you don't, it's definitely a position of need. I like the fact that he's in the rotation at all. I mean, he's playing as much as Kerrigan basically. I'd be fine cutting Kerrigan and giving Teron Jackson his 8 to 10 snaps. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's some athleticism there, and he's got a lot to learn, but there's something there.
Next 6th-round pick was Jacoby Stevens, linebacker from LSU. He hasn't played at all. He's been on the practice squad, so don't really have much there. He was a guy I thought they'd have a role for when they drafted him. We were wrong about that. I think you did too. We were wrong about that. I don't know. I mean, he's kind of a tweener. He was safety in college, so they really have to have an idea of how to use him. And if he's not ready, they're not going to force it.
Didn't he get hurt in the training camp, like middle of training camp?
Yeah.
I think that really set him back. And because he was having a pretty good camp up until then, but then he missed significant time. And
yeah, it was a shame. The day he got hurt was the day he got injured. Or gosh, what am I saying? The day he got hurt was his best day of training camp. He had a great day, but he must have I forget what it was. You remember what the injury was? I don't remember, but he got hurt that same day, and he missed like 3 weeks.
Yeah, he missed a lot of time, and that's really valuable time. If you're a rookie late round pick, you miss that much time. It's really hard to make it up. So, I would like to see him get in the mix, even on special teams. Just see if get him a couple game day activations if he's ready. He's an intriguing player, but he's also a long shot.
Yeah, and the problem is it's not that they have roster spots up for grabs. They're going to have to figure it out soon with Miles Sanders, and then it's not easy to come by roster spots this time. Maybe late in the season he can be an elevation and you can get him in the game that way.
Yeah, you give him a couple of elevations and get him on the field.
Yeah,
wouldn't be the
then
worst.
The last one, 7th-round pick Patrick Johnson.
Eagles have the first round, the number 1 seed clinched, like by the Dallas game. Then you can play some of these guys.
Sure. Patrick Johnson, linebacker from Tulane, played more earlier in the year, and since then has really lost his snaps to Jannard Avery, who has played pretty well as that Sam position linebacker. But Johnson only played 2 snaps in the last game. He had a big pass breakup and nearly had a pick.
Yeah, he made a really nice play on that. Showed some athleticism. Avery didn't play that much Sunday. He only played 12 to 15 snaps, I believe.
Yeah, but he's the 3rd linebacker. They actually had Singleton out there on some 3rd down situations, and that was the only time he played. He played 10 snaps, I think.
Alex has played just 20 snaps the last 2 games. Yeah, it's been interesting. But yeah, I've got nothing else on Patrick Johnson other than we know the coaches. They threw everything at him in camp. They know, we know he's smart, and he showed some athleticism on that play. Another one who, hopefully as the year goes on, he gets a few more opportunities.
Yeah, and he's been a special teamer. He's been active. It's not like they've healthy scratched him. He has a role. It's a small role on defense, but he does play quite a bit.
Yeah. At Nissan, we just made your choice for a new car an easier one than ever with our most exciting and fuel-efficient lineup. The choice is yours. Now get great offers across our full line. Shop your local Nissan store today at nissanusa.com.
Rube, you got anything else before we wrap this one up?
I can't believe what a coincidence it was that Jacoby Stevens got hurt the same day he got injured. You just never see that. What are the odds of that happening? I do want to say one thing.
I thought I got off pretty easy when I said it, and I was kind of surprised about it. And then, there it is.
Yesterday was my dad's 94th birthday. We had a little party for him over in their building and their apartment building. My mom turns 94 next month. And so it was just a real blessing to be able to share the day with my dad. Um, and Morton Frank is his name, and he's a great guy. And he couldn't name one Eagles player in history if you asked him. Like he couldn't name. He's never been a sports fan, but he's like the most interesting guy, and taught me so much about everything but sports. So, like he couldn't tell you what team Babe Ruth played for. Just he wouldn't know. He's just never been a sports fan. But my mom was a sports fan. But it was yeah. So my dad's 94, and yeah, what a blessing.
It's pretty cool. You guys have back-to-back birthdays. Now, was
Yeah.
that a two cake affair growing up, or did you get
Absolutely.
like one cake? Okay, you
Absolutely.
doubled up on cakes.
Yeah, and
All right.
cornbread stuffing.
All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. We'll be back with you later in the week with Ray Didinger. Rube, happy birthday. Hope you enjoy it. That's it. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Cheers. Thank you.